Hello, Thrivesters. What is up? It is mid-November. I hope if you're in the northeast of America, that you are not too cold. Maybe you're in Alaska. I don't know. I don't think we have anybody listening from Alaska. If we do, I hope you're not too cold, but you're probably used to it. Yeah. So just heads up, I am on my third cup of coffee. It has been hilarious what I've had to go through to to get this podcast to you. I will talk about that in a second. In the meantime, let me tell you this. This is going to be a buffet of topics today because there's been something on my mind for a while, and I simply have to talk about it. Before I do that, really quick, a couple of housekeeping notes. If you were ever in the corporate world, you know what that means. Housekeeping. Yeah, it's like parking lot. Anybody remember corporate bingo? I used to love that game. Oh, I loved it. Anyway, um, so if you are not signed up for the weekly buzz, which is my free weekly email, I would strongly suggest you do that ASAP. A lot of great topics once a week. It's a quick read. A lot of my coaching specials are available that way. Some workshops are available that way. There's a link in the show notes and just do it. Just sign up for it. Okay. Second, if you are listening to this on YouTube, you're not watching it today because here's the sitch, Thrivesters. There are some who say show up as yourself all the time. I somewhat agree with that. What you may not know about me is that I show up either looking polished and like a functioning member of society, or like I have been dragged through the bottom of the ocean, through like seaweed, barnacles, then laid out in the sun to bake. And I don't even know. Do you remember that meme of the cat that looks like it stuck its finger in the socket? It was a stressed out cat. Anyway, so I either look like newscaster Nancy, as I used to call myself. In I'll tell you why in a second. It sounds more arrogant than it is, or like a complete degenerate, frankly. And while I really care less about image than I do about being real and being authentic, sometimes I'm just not fit for public consumption. Today is one of those days. So it's either don't record the podcast because I'm not getting my act together today, or it's record it and people can listen. I went with record it and people can listen because I'm so passionate about this subject. Let's go back to newscaster Nancy, because if you're newer here, um, one of the things I used to talk about a lot as part of the Unmute Yourself platform, which was the original Thrive Hive platform, is this need that many women, especially corporate women, not only women, but especially not only corporate women, but especially women that work in the corporate world, this paralysis of perfection and having to show up, as I used to call it, newscaster Nancy, like hair looking great, clothes on point. Nobody really cares at the end of the day. I don't really care at the end of the day, except when it's like the polar opposite. Anyway, what are we, like 5 minutes in? I've talked about myself this whole time. Let's talk about you. And what I want to talk about today, last newsletter or weekly buzz, I talked about, oh no, it was a podcast too. 3 words that you're using that will have you not thrive through the holidays. If you didn't listen to that, it's last week's episode. What I want to talk about today, and I'm kind of going back old school, and if you're an OG listener, as I mentioned, the Thrive Hive podcast and platform started as Unmute Yourself, which started as a book that I wrote for women. It's a communication handbook for women. It's about how to advocate for yourself at work and at home. It's about how the words we choose matter, and particularly and especially when we're talking to ourselves. It's about how to be more persuasive, all the things. It's about this illusion of work-life balance doesn't exist. It's a mystical unicorn. Instead, I support work-life blending, especially during the holidays. Anyway, I kind of moved away from that. And the reason I moved away from that was because I had been talking about it for 5 years, and I thought everybody was sick of it. Turns out I was the only one who was sick of it. I'm kind of kidding. When you talk about something and it's your life and your professional life for many, many years, it's only natural that I started to think, does anybody really even want to hear this anymore? And then I was at a dinner party and I was talking about the book, and one of the women at the dinner party was very excited about it. Unbeknownst to me, she went out and bought it. She sent me a text. She said, "I love this book. It's fantastic. I'm going to give it to all my females on my team." And it got me thinking that maybe I can continue to infuse a little of unmute yourself into the Thrive Hive podcast, which brings me to today's topic. We're going to talk about the 3 words that are the kiss of death between now and the end of the year. And before we do that, I want to talk about something that's been coming up a lot. And I can no longer let it go, Thrivesters. It's when women, and I'm telling you, in my quick calculations, I would say it's 99% women end a statement with the word right, right at the end of the statement. Maybe you do this, maybe you don't. And the reason why I'm bringing it up today, I keep hearing it. And I've talked about it before. In the book, Unmute Yourself and Speak Up to Stand Out, I talk about, ways that you are giving away your power when you're speaking. There's up talk, which is making a statement as a question, and, vocal fry, all of these different things. What I didn't talk about in the book, because it wasn't as prevalent then and it is now, is ending a statement with the term or the word right. So I have seen over the past, I'd say 3 months, very high level politicians do this, females, not males. I have seen all levels of career, newly launched career women who have had their careers for decades, doctors, surgeons, salespeople, PR execs. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're one of these people, I'm not talking about you specifically. I would never do that. Corporate executives, CEOs. It does not matter. And it blows my mind. And actually, this has been happening for a while, and I'm at the point now where I cannot continue to not say something. So it goes something like this. Somebody asks you a question and you are the authority, or you are very well versed on whatever the topic is, or you're explaining something to someone and you say, I'm gonna have to think about this for a sec. I'm going to keep this actually very simple. And I'm going to use a dear, dear friend who was a professor of mine, who later became a colleague of mine, who has since passed on. I adored him, as did many, many people. And in his leadership class, this was a freshman leadership class in college, he would talk about leadership, and he would use the example of how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and how to direct or train or advise or coach your people how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And it was pretty funny because the students would say, he would bring in a thing of peanut butter and jelly, and a thing of peanut butter and a thing of jelly, and a can of each, and bottle of each, jar of each, and a knife and some bread. And the students, he'd say, "Okay, tell me how to make this peanut butter and jelly sandwich." And they would give him directions that were not specific. They would say, "Put the peanut butter on the bread." So he would take his hand, he would put it in the peanut butter, and he'd slap it on the outside of the bread bag. And they'd say, "No, no, no, you need to take the bread out of the bag first." So they'd take the bread out of the bag. They'd say, "Now put the peanut butter on it." And he would take his hands and he would smash the peanut butter on it. They'd say, "No, no, no, use the knife to spread the peanut butter on the bread." And then he would take a huge chunk of peanut butter. They would say, "No, no, no, use the knife to spread about 2 tablespoons of peanut butter on the bread." Anyway, the point was you have to be very specific when giving instructions. That is a radical deviation from what I wanted to talk to you about. What I wanted to talk to you about was, let's say you're explaining to somebody how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you say, well, what you want to do is you want to take some peanut butter and you want to spread it on the bread, right? And then you want to take some jelly and you want to spread that on the other piece of bread, right? Then you want to put the two pieces of bread together, right? Then you want to slice the bread, right? Then you want to put the bread on a plate, right? And the number of women that I have heard doing this in the past 3 months is staggering. And right is a filler word. It's like, there's no value in the word right. There is no value. It brings no value to a conversation. It's like saying just, which you all know how I feel about that. It's about, it's a pause, and it's every time you speak, you're asking for validation, and it almost negates what you just said. It doesn't quite negate it. And it definitely, no matter how confident you are, gives the impression that you are not confident. And I know what you're trying to do if you're saying it, or what people are trying to do. They're trying to pause and make sure the person understands, which is perfectly reasonable. Which is similar to, does that make sense? Ending your sentence with, does that make sense? Which I used to do all the time. So I'm so caffeinated, I can't remember if I just talked about, did that make sense? Let's go back to right for a second. So here's what you can say instead of right. And you may not even know you're doing it. You might not do it. I definitely don't do it. I used to do, does that make sense? A lot. I definitely don't say right. So again, it turns your statement into a question. You put the peanut butter on the bread, right? Well, I don't know. Do we or don't we? You're taking away your authority. And you're taking away your power as well. So here's what you can say instead. You put the peanut butter on the bread. Do you understand that part? That sounds maybe a little condescending. You put the peanut butter on the bread. Maybe you don't say anything. You put the peanut butter on the bread. What do you think about that? I mean, that doesn't really sound natural either. Frankly, I don't really know what to say instead. I just wouldn't say right. Just don't say it. It's a filler and it's not good. Let's go back to, does that make sense? So let's say you're explaining something and you truly want to know if that makes sense to the person. What you're really asking is, do you have any questions about this? Or what are your thoughts? So instead of, does that make sense? You could say, how does that sound to you? Instead of, does that make sense? You could say, what's your take? That's kind of like, what are your thoughts? So all of this is to say, when you're speaking and you end your sentence with right, it's just bad, Thrivesters. It's just bad. Please don't do it. Try to catch yourself. And if you're one of the people that doesn't do it, then think about or listen around a little bit at how many women you see doing this versus how many men you see doing this. It's a more recent phenomenon. And I saw it 3 times yesterday, which I think is why I decided to throw this in here, when really what I want to be talking about, or what I'd planned to talk about, was the 3 words that are the kiss of death. Are you ready? Those 3 words are, drum roll, after the holidays. Sounds reasonable, right? After the holidays. Oh, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do that after the holidays. Ooh, that's an interesting project. I think I'll look at that after the holidays. Wow, I really want to try CrossFit. Yeah, I'll start that after the holidays. Every single year, when I used to do this, I would wake up and my calendar would be packed. So I would wake up in January already behind. It's a trap. Really, what you're saying is, I'll deal with it later. And you may have the best intentions. You may, and I think I talked about this. I'm pretty sure I talked about this with a friend of mine who we wanted to get together, do something special. And she said, you know what, let's do it after the holidays when we have time to really enjoy it. That is a rare exception. She was right. Why pack it in during the holidays when there's a million things going on? I'm talking about more or less when you're talking about things that you want to do with yourself. So here's what I'm going to recommend. Before you say to yourself, I'm going to do it after the holidays, ask yourself this. Is it really an after the holidays things, or are you avoiding it? Which is also another way of asking, is this about timing or is this about commitment? Is it, it's not a good time right now, I'll do it after the holidays? Or is it, yeah, I'm not sure I want to do this, so I'll deal with it after the holidays? That's fine. If you say, I'm going to decide what to do about this over the holidays, that's fine. And finally, my favorite question, if I do this now, I'm sorry, let me back up. If I pitch it, kick it down the road till after the holidays, how am I going to feel in January when I actually have to do it? Because Thrivesters, thriving isn't something you postpone, it's something you practice, particularly when life is full. So here's what I'm going to recommend you do instead. If it matters enough for you to do after the holidays, take one small step now. I'm going to use myself as an example. Not really. I pseudo use myself. Um, do one small step towards this thing. So, for example, if you want to redo your guest room, take one drawer and clean out one drawer now. Just one drawer. You don't have to go crazy. It'll take 15 minutes, maybe 20, maybe 30. But you're not going to spend the whole day doing it when, frankly, you need that day, particularly over the next 6 weeks. If you're planning a business change, radical change in your business or your career, just start jotting down some notes. You don't have to do it. You don't have to say, I'm going to deal with this after the holidays. You can start thinking about it and laying the groundwork now. Let's say you want to do CrossFit. I don't know why I am focused on CrossFit right now. Oh, I know why. That's a whole nother story. If you want it, let's say you want to try CrossFit. This is really just an example. Take one step and maybe it's find a CrossFit gym near you. You want to start running? Make sure you have running sneakers. That's all. That's all. One little thing, because it's not about postponing. It's about doing it when the time is right for you and having the knowledge and the self-knowledge, self-awareness and the grace to allow yourself to do that. This is not the time of year where we need to do all the things. And at the same time, this is not the time of year when we blow everything off. I mean, I'm sure you've seen those memes out there, which I think are hilarious. That sounds like a 2026 problem. I love that. I love it. And at the same time, I know how dangerous that can be. So, in summary, Thrivesters, those of you that have been there a while, you know that words matter. Words matter when you're speaking to others, and specifically, words matter when we're speaking to ourselves. That's a whole nother topic. And after the holidays, if it's a postponement or a procrastination, I'm asking that you make sure it's not. I'm simply asking that you make sure that if you're kicking it till after the holidays, it's so that you can be fully present and enjoy it. And it's not because you don't want to deal with it now. Having said that, I know that many of you, like myself from time to time, there are big things, big shifts in your life that are coming, big decisions in your life that are coming that frankly you don't want to deal with until after the holidays. I get that. I totally do. I'm going to give you one thing you can do right now, that one little thing that I was talking about. Get on the wait list for my January Thrive coaching, my Thrive Live coaching. I'll tell you why. I know you, and I know that I know you because I know me, and like attracts like. And as much as you don't want to kick things off until after the holidays, you might put off what I think is the most important thing, which is taking care of yourself, which is getting the help and the support that you know you need to thrive. And that's your definition of thrive. That could be a career pivot, that could be a wellness journey, that could be a number of things. As an incentive to help you curtail that habit of kicking it down till after January, If you get on the wait list now, there's no obligation at all. Get on the wait list now, and I will make sure you get 2025 pricing. It's no commitment. All you need to do, click on the link and say, keep me posted. That's it. Then when it launches in January, my Thrive Life coaching launches in January, you will get 2025 pricing. It will be at least, I'd say 20 or 30% savings. So just get on the list right now. Do it. You have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. And with that, Thrivesters, I have one more thing I want to mention. Um, Thank you for your patience with my caffeinated state. That's not what I wanted to mention. Somebody was listening to the podcast and asked me if announced on the last podcast that I would be ending it. I don't recall saying that. I don't want to do that. Um, I might have said, let me know you're out there. That's very possible. Because oftentimes when I get a note from someone saying, hey, I just listened to your podcast, it resonated with me so much. It was so timely. As a matter of fact, I had a couple of people um, shoot me an email at nancymedoff@nancymedoff.com saying, thank you so much. That means the world to me. This is a self-funded podcast. I don't have sponsors on purpose. I actually lose money on this podcast. Not a big deal. Um, it's what I do because I love doing it. So if any of today resonated with you, shoot me a note, hit me up on the Insta, take a screenshot, tag me on Insta. Let's see, send it to a friend, any of the things. And finally, truly finally, because I know I've been saying finally for a while. Oh no, next week is not Thanksgiving. Okay. All right. Next week, make sure you tune in next week. It's going to be really, really powerful. We're going to do something really fun about about Thanksgiving. And I'm also going to probably going to talk about toxic gratitude, which I talk about every year. And every year I get a ton of feedback that people really, really are appreciative of the conversation. So with that, Thrivesters, I love you. Sign up for the weekly buzz. Sign up for the Thrive Live coaching so that you lock in 2025 prices. Again, no commitment. It is simply to help you make that first step. I love you. Now go out there and thrive like you mean it. Peace out, Thrivesters.